This isn't the first time we've had to do this. I remember doing this when Kenny got dropped for Skies, I think it was. But we're back. This is obviously, rather than recording the whole episode again, we've had some crazy news on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning that I've woke up to. And instead of re-recording the whole of the Roundup 75, we're just going to put this bit at the start of the video. I don't know how long this will take, but yeah, this is one of the craziest mid-season ROSTERMANIA moves we'll see. As the franchise player, in my opinion, for the last couple of seasons, the best player on Toronto Koi, JOEDECIEVES is now potentially joining Gentlemates. Gentlemates are blowing it up with um, barely any of the season to go. They are blowing it up. We've got Envoy and Neptune having crazy beef on the timeline. Um, it's all fucking bonkers, but JOEDECIEVES apparently is going to be playing on the Gentlemates going forward. Neptune has been officially benched. I don't know if it's actually official by Gentlemates, but I think it is. Neptune's been benched. Um, which is just obviously MVP at Major One, but obviously Gentlemates have struggled since Major One. There's no denying that. Um, it was a bit of a fluke win against Optic, in my opinion. But obviously it was at the time, they looked good. Neptune, Ghosty were high up on the MVP ladder at the start of the season. Obviously it has gone a bit shits up recently. Um, but Neptune tweets personally. They've got all the Gentlemates players tweeting. We don't know what's going on. There's a chance Estrel is already dropped as well, which must just be an absolute kick in the teeth because he thought he was going to at least be at champs. But Sib has said on his stream, I believe, as well that he's been where's it at? It might be a bit higher up. But I just wanted to. Yeah, Sib apparently has confirmed on stream that he's been dropped by Gentlemate, so that's another player that's coming in. It sounds like, according to Zuma, it's going to be Kips and JOEDECIEVES going to Gentlemates as a duo. Now, this is absolutely crazy. There is talk that Gentlemates wanted to do a trade, so Kips and JOEDECIEVES for Sib and Neptune. However, I think that if this was to happen, Gentlemates would want some money. Sorry, no. Koi would want some money because I think getting rid of JOEDECIEVES free is a disappointing decision. I don't know how long's left on his contract with Koi. But yeah, not ideal for Joe, in my opinion. I mean, for Koi fans, that Joe would be leaving. My take on it is that I can understand why Gentlemates are doing it, but why have they waited so long? Obviously, I don't know if this is going to be the only two changes. Potentially they'll keep. Apparently Ghosty's on the team regardless. They're keeping Ghosty. Estriel we don't know about. I think it would be unfair for Estriel to be gone, but then again they might just decide to do that. But the thing is, he will get back on a team, you would hope, but maybe not in time for champs, or they go on a team like Royal Ravens. I don't know. But yeah, my thoughts on it are Sib. I think Sib has been the most consistent player for Gentlemates this season. I think getting rid of Sib, I don't agree with. To be honest, I think getting rid of Sib is a mistake. Neptune, obviously something's happened behind the scenes, and we're going to talk about the beef him and Envoy have. I don't know with Neptune. And like I said, Ghosty, I can understand them wanting to keep, but then again, he's been inconsistent. And I think if they get rid of Estrel, it's crazy. So we've got obviously we've got some beef here. Envoy tweeted this GIF of Michael Jordan like laughing. Um, And then basically him and Neptune are having back and forth. I don't know why you're tweeting me worst team of all time. Neptune says you're a .6 gang, chill. And then Envoy says, and you wonder why other teams don't call. Which obviously, if people remember in ROSTERMANIA mid-season, start of the season, sorry, before it started, there wasn't really talk about Neptune going on these other teams that were looking for new SMGs like FaZe or um, Koi or um, Thieves, you know, because obviously Thieves were looking for a new SMG with Hydra. So obviously something has happened there. Obviously Envoy says, I don't know why you're tweeting me worst team of all time. This bit actually, like, had no idea you hated me, bro. I stood up for you many times and I treat you a good teammate every day. All good. Good luck in the rest of the season, though. That actually, like, that I don't know why, but like, that had no idea you hated me, bro. Actually made me a bit like not sad, but like, oh, bit of a. Well, that's actually quite. It is quite sad to be fair, if that's the case. Because he's a good player, Neptune. Let's not beat around the bush. You know, he got to champs and EWC final last year, won an event this year. He's a good player, but it is a shame that this is how it. After winning Major One, you would never have ever thought this would have been the case. And like Neptune says, you know, people have wanted. Envoy's probably had the most criticism out of anyone on that mate's team all season because of his low KDs. So I don't know why it's all happening. Um, we've got a couple more. Look, in my opinion, with this whole gentlemates situation, if their roster going into Major 4 champs in EWC is Estriel, Ghosty, JOEDECIEVES and Kips, good luck. I think it's not a bad team, but they're not going to win anything. If they just did JOEDECIEVES for Neptune, maybe, because I think getting rid of Sib is a mistake. I really do. Sib's the one that I don't agree with getting rid of. And if they get rid of Estriel, by the way, poor guy, you know, was the best player on G2. They were going to make champs. He's kind of been sold a dream after if he gets dropped after 2 series. When he hasn't done anything wrong, by the way. But I don't know who they would bring in if they were going to drop Estriel, because they would need another SMG. So I don't really know who they would look for. Whilst I'm here, though, we'll talk. There's actually been a little bit more ROSTERMANIA, which again we'll talk about before. Obviously, you guys get to see episode 75 of the Roundup, the actual thing I recorded on Monday. Maybe from now on I won't record them on Monday unless I have no choice. So this Stallions, Abe, and Lurks rumoured to reunite his teammates on either Koi or Royal Raven, so potentially Lurks joins Koi. Obviously, Lurks has been good this season. And that'd be a good move for him if he could get on Koi's team. Abe going to Ravens makes no sense. They're not going to make champs. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which is actually what stat on, this was on Tuesday afternoon, and I wasn't going to actually mention it. I wasn't going to like re-record the whole roundup or whatever. But Traix has been dropped from the Miami Heretics, and this really, really surprised me. I wasn't expecting it. You know, Metals has been the worst player on that team this year, but obviously, you know, he's been in the team longer, and they've dropped Traix fully, and they've brought in Real, and it makes sense as to why they've obviously brought Real back. But obviously, he had a bad stint on Koi. People have to remember that, and maybe he's just going to be back playing with his Spanish compatriots, and it'll work out. But I think it's unfair on Traix. Obviously, I think I had him as 5th on my Rookie of the Year ladder. Maybe 4th. I think I had him 4th on my Rookie of the Year ladder. I mentioned what it is in the episode. So yeah, I think it is a bit harsh on Traix, but I'm happy Real's back in the league. I do like Real. You know, I wanted him on Optic if Optic didn't if Optic didn't win champs in an EWC, I think they would have probably dropped Hugh. And they dropped Hugh, which is what I thought would have happened before obviously champs in EWC happened. I wanted Real on Optic, Real or JOEDECIEVES, so Yeah, I wish Trake's the best. I think Trake's could get on another team. I don't know if his English is good, like how good his English is, but I think that I think Koi potentially could look at him. I don't know what's going to happen with this whole situation. I feel like we'll know more by like Friday. I mean, surely there'll probably be more information out after this episode's released, but we'll have to just wait until next week's episode then. But yeah, that's obviously the news that JOEDECIEVES to Gentlemates. They're trying to make it happen. But I hope you enjoy episode 75 of the Roundup. Was a decent one, I hope, for you. We do our minor predictions. Now, by the way, I had Gentlemates and Koi playing in the minor. Spoiler alert. Honestly, I'm just going to leave the result as it is, but I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, enjoy episode 75 and roll on the intro. What's good, people? It's Spud here, and welcome to episode 75 of the Roundup. We are 75 episodes in now. It's actually crazy. We're definitely going to get to 100 next season. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the online matches from this weekend in the Call of Duty League and also doing our Minor 2 predictions. Let's see who can pick up a few CDL points and a little bit of cash. If you are new, please do subscribe to the channel, it's free, and like the video if you enjoy this episode of the Roundup. 75 episodes now is actually bonkers though. Now, obviously we've been doing this for over 2 years now, but it's just bonkers. Episode 75. We have to talk about Falcons as well in this video. Very good start, Xnid. Having a good week. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, when it came to the thumbnail, I was in a bit of a pickle because I actually thought I did a Falcons thumbnail pretty recently. Turns out it was like 11 episodes ago, so I thought, okay, that's fine, we can do one here. But I thought I was going to do one for like episode 70 or something. I can't remember what episode it was. And then obviously Boston Breach have had a really good start as well. But again, they were playing teams in that bottom half, that bottom field anyway. But they obviously were last week's thumbnail with Spart, so I couldn't really do a back-to-back. But yeah, let's get into it. So obviously we've got our online matches, and we start obviously with a big shock, I would say. Obviously we knew that Koi were going to be keeping Insight on the team, and he actually got the most damage on the team, which I don't think I've seen him do all year, even when he was playing Unreal at Major 2 in Birmingham. Standy has an okay debut, but it is Fire and Lurks with a really good series here for the Ravens, and it's a 3-0. Big 10 CDL points for the Ravens as they are trying to get to champs. They realistically need to win at least 3 online matches and have a decent minor 2 tournament, and then obviously have a good run at the major to get champs. It's still doable, but a good result here. And Koi will be very disappointed. Of course they will. They should get into champs. But that's not really the point. They want to be building momentum after back-to-back third place finishes at the LAN events, and this just isn't ideal. It is a very, very disappointing performance for Koi, and I already know obviously the CEO of Koi, Adam Grayson, very, very annoyed. He said he was keeping the roster, and then 2 days later after this game, he put disgraceful. I think it was disgraceful. Is a disgraceful performance, to be honest, from Koi. They should be ashamed of themselves. No disrespect to Ravens, of course, but Koi are a good team and should not be getting 3-0'd. And then we had obviously new look G2, a lot of roster changes, so a lot of players making their debuts for their teams, as you would expect. So we have G2 here versus Cloud9. It's a 3-1 win here for G2. Obviously Nasty's debut, not his best series, but it's not the end of the world. Envoy positive, it's nice to see Envoy positive. It's been a while since we've seen Envoy positive. Maybe this is just a environment and habitat he needs to be in. Kremp, though, 1.31, good showing from Kremp. Wavy. Across both games this weekend, this Wavy lad wasn't too bad, to be honest with you. He was alright. But this one was a 3-1 win here. Unfortunately, Cloud9 just... these players will be at EWC. Talk about obviously Cloud9. We mentioned about this buyout thing that Wevy had to pay out by part of his buyout. That is actually been confirmed to be false by Jack Etienne. However, he just won't get a big of a cut of his EWC prize pool. Some of it will go, a little bit will go back to the org, just to pay that buyout. But I do hope Cloud9 leave the league after this, honestly. It's just so disappointing that like Cloud9 are like this. Why come back into the league in the first place? Optic loved a round 11 in their S&Ds this weekend, but look at the hard point dominant. Obviously, it was Crazy and Mamba's debuts on Surge, not great. Shotzi, Puke, Mercury's Green, Dashi, not the best of series from Dashi, but a solid win here for Optic. I mean, map 1, Mercury's a 1.69. On the map 3, Hugh and Shotzi, the SMG's firing for Optic to take that Den Overlord. And Surge obviously needed some points this weekend. They were probably not expecting to beat Optic, but then they obviously had another match against Boston, which, when we get to it, is one to talk about. Well, I think I predicted this to go to Game 5. I can't actually fully remember if I did or not. But it was Thieves versus FaZe, and this one was a 3-2 to the Thieves. They won this with a Neslo, 2 SMDs and a Overlord. The hard points were won by FaZe. If we look here at the stats, not the best from Nuim and Abizi, but Scrap had a really good series here. On the other side, Simp, obviously the best player on FaZe this year. We said that most years. But a good series, and this was a fun one to watch. I did watch. I think I watched every series this weekend. Obviously, I was watching the Champions League final, and then that finished just around this time because obviously it went to penalties, and thankfully Arsenal lost. Sorry if there's any gooners in the comments. But yeah, it was a good series. This I think I missed some of map 1, but then I got to see the rest, and it was a good series to watch. And obviously these two teams could potentially face each other in the minor at the weekend. Obviously I'm recording this on Monday, so the games have only just finished really. Like they finished last night. This is a close 3-0, but it is 3-0 here, gentlemates. Estrel having a solid debut, but it is Sib with that huge damage and most kills in the lobby as well. That is MVP here. A bit of a rough one there for Exceeding Standy. But again, gentlemates were probably expecting to win this, but Ravens realistically need to win all their online games. I will show you the standings, obviously, before we do minor 2 predictions. I will show the standings just so you guys can see, where we're at. So then we had Surge Breach, and this is what we have to talk about. This is huge for both teams. It is a reverse sweep here from Boston Breach. And that is massive. That is Surge probably now 100% out of champs qualification. Not obviously mathematically, but like they're not going to get in. Boston, I don't think will either, but a huge reverse sweep. Massive win. Everyone was positive on that Boston side. And obviously TJ's first game for them, 101 kills against his old team, who dropped him, and rightfully so. But the replacements haven't done any better. A good win here. And Boston obviously were playing Surge and they were playing Cloud9 this weekend. Obviously I know they've got the minor tournament, but I don't actually. I want to quickly just check and see who their last 3 matches are against. Oh, okay. Right, so they've got Thieves, Koi, and Gentlemate, so they are 10th with 90 points. Yeah, they're not making it. They're not making it. They would have to. They would have to win all 3 of those and probably win the minor tournament and go on a run at the major. Still, though, it's nice to get some wins on the board for themselves, I guess. And then we had another game five. We had a couple of game fives this weekend. This one was another Neslaw, and it was won by Riyadh Falcons and Pred, playing like Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 Pred here. 1.3, 120 kills. Him and Kismet were frying. It was a great series to watch. I mean, 6-5 in an S&D, 6-5 in the Overlord. Pretty close hard points. But map 5 was a blowout. And Sake, I believe, is new in the map rotation. And I watched this, and Falcons dominated them. I believe Exnid was quite good in this S&D. Yeah, 7-3, 8-3 from Pred. You could tell that, and to be honest, the only round that Falcons lost, they dominated. They choked. Sorry, they should not have lost it, but they obviously did. But they realistically should be doing better in those situations. Um, but yeah, good result there for Falcons. And then they started off the Sunday, and obviously we're expecting a close series here with Gentlemates. And I mean, it was pretty close to the maps, but it's 3-0 here for Falcons. Ghosty with a rough one, a .74. Rare rough series there from Ghosty. Estrel the only player positive on the Gentlemate side. Falcons, Kismet with a .98, but he had the most damage in the lobby, so he had a good series. Exnid though, 73 kills, a great series from the Saudi superstar. It's good that it is. Do you know what? I'm going to quickly talk about Falcons. Obviously, that's the thumbnail. You know, with Falcons, like, it is good that, like, when they first came into the league, that they tried to give the Saudi players a chance. I respect it. Obviously, didn't work. They kept Exnid and they brought in Pred as the main piece with their Arcites and Priest. The Arcites and Priest just didn't work out, and they've obviously brought in Celium on a massive contract in Kismet. And yeah, they're not doing like amazing, but you can see improvements in this team, and I wonder what they do next season if they stick or twist. I think it is good though that there is a Saudi player in the league, and he's shown he's good enough. But my problem is that if he got kicked out the Falcons team, he's good enough to play for these other teams. Don't get me wrong, but he probably wouldn't have as much loyalty as he has with the Falcons in terms of like the Falcons will give him a lot of time because he's their project player. Obviously, like Celium and Pred and Kismet are all world champions. And obviously Exnid, this is only his second year, but you can definitely see the improvements from Exnid, so it is interesting to see how Falcons line up next year. Obviously, LAN haven't been the best, obviously top 6. They were good last event, but obviously back-to-back losses in the bracket obviously made them go out top 6. And then we had Optic versus the Heretics. I almost called them Inter Miami there for a second. Another, like I said earlier, another round 11, but Optic do ice it up. Shotzi, Shotzi had 2 very good series this weekend. So did Hugh. But for my weekly MVP, which I never actually do every week, Shotzi is MVP this week. Good week from him. Optic are just ridiculous this year. I think they've only lost 8 overlords, sorry, 8 overlords all year out of 41. They've only lost 8 matches all year, including the minor. 3, but they haven't won an event because they've just been runner-up. Now look, if Optic came runner-up in Major 4 but won champs, it would make up for it, but they have to win something. Because like, if Optic don't win anything this season at all, it's a poor season. Regardless of how good they've been, if you don't win anything, it's a poor season. Like, Gentlemates have had a good season because they've won an event. Thieves have had a good season because they've won an event. FaZe have because they've won an event. There's obviously one more event before champs, and then obviously EWC after. Hopefully Optic. See, I think if Optic could win minor 2, sorry, it'll give them that belief that they can do it in a best of 7, because that might be this thing that they're struggling with winning in best of 7s. I just don't know what it is, to be honest. Anyway, this was a very good series, by the way, that we're going to show you now. Cloud9 versus Boston. 3-1 here, Boston, but look at how close the hard points were. Ultimately, these were bottled. Cloud9 should have won this series, in my opinion. Purge, though, Purge drops a 1.2. On the other side, Wevy, he's done okay on his debut weekend. I do genuinely believe that Wevy's looked quite good in the respawns. So we'll have to see how he does. Obviously, 18-year-old rookie. I think he's better than Orcus already. Um, but yeah, Boston. It's a nice 10 points. Obviously, Cloud9 weren't going to get to champs. We knew that. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth for Cloud9 this series, though, because it was a winnable series and they lost. But there is progress from them, but still, next season, I don't know if any of these players will actually be in the league. Like, honestly, I just don't know if there will be. Oh, I was going to show you the standings, wasn't I? Before we move on, to other things. So obviously, 200 points is currently the like top 8 make champs. Obviously, Cloud9 aren't going to get it. I don't know if it's even possible for them to still qualify. Surge and Boston aren't getting it. Realistically, it's between Ravens. I think it's done. I personally think Ravens aren't going to make it. I think these other 8 teams are just better. And then I guess it comes down to who plays who. Obviously, FaZe and Thieves are tied on 3-5-5. Gentlemates will probably be 4th seed. Koi will probably be 5th seed. So then you've obviously got everyone else. So I think Optic are going to be playing either G2 or Miami at round 1. I'd rather play G2 all day long, by the way, on land than Miami. But yeah, I'm just going to see who Royal Ravens' final 3 matches are against. If they have Heretics, it could be interesting. Oh, if they don't, oh, yeah. That Falcons game's huge, though. To be fair, that Falcons game is huge. Right. Why is a bit of my hair stuck up like that? First of all, like we said, MVP of the week, Shotzi. We're going to do our ladders now. So we're going to start with Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year, Nwim, number 1. Unless Koi win an event and Kips is MVP now. These two have been brilliant, by the way, and Lurks has been alright as well. Like, credit where it is due. Credit where it's due, because these have been good players. In my opinion, these 3. The rest of it, Trix is at 4, Mamba's at 5. I've got Encourage at 6 still, Craze 7th, Nezra 8th, Abe 9th, and Hyde 10th. Hyde 10th. If Wevy plays well for the rest of the split, Wevy will be in the top 8. Or top 9 anyway. Obviously, I'm not going to change it too much over one weekend of online COD. I'm going to keep the top 10 for MVP the same. So Nwim 10, O4 9th, Neptune 8th, Shotzi 7th, JOEDECIEVES 6th, Scrap 5th, Dashy 4th, Mercules 3rd, Simp 2nd, and Hugh 1st. Who do I think will win I actually don't know who they're going to give MVP to. I hope it is Hugh. I think if it's not an Optic player, it'll be Simp. Scrap potentially has a chance as well. But I think Mercules might actually get it. So now it is time for predictions. Let's get into it. So, predictions. This is the bracket for Minor 2. I quite like how the CDL's bracket looks for this. It's very, very nice to look at, like aesthetically pleasing. So obviously top 4 seeds get a bye into the next round. It's single elim, as it says down below. Best of 5, best of 7 grand final. So I believe semi-finalists get CDL points, finalists gets a bit more CDL points, and the winner gets money. I think it's like 10,000, so it's a couple of thousand each. Can't complain at a couple of $1,000, even though it's taxed in America. Falcons versus Royal Ravens. Let's go 3-1 to Falcons. Koi versus Cloud9. I think Koi will have to bounce back. But it won't be a smooth sailing series, but it'll be enough. 3-1 Koi. Heretics Surge, pretty straightforward. I'm actually going to go 3-0 Heretics. G2 versus Boston could be an interesting one, but I do think G2's new additions make them a lot stronger, so I'm going to go 3-1 versus 3-1 G2 against the Breach. So then our quarterfinals are Optic Falcons, which is a good game, Gentlemates Koi, which is a good game, FaZe Heretics, which is a good game, Thieves G2, which could be okay. I think there's a few good quarterfinals here. I will go Optic to beat Falcons. 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1 Koi. Maybe that is like a surprise result to go Koi, obviously after that 3-0 to the Ravens. But I am going to go Koi to beat Gentlemates in the quarterfinals. And obviously, if they do beat them, by the way, that them CDL points will probably take them in. I mean, no, they are guaranteed. They're not guaranteed, but like, if they will make champs, obviously. They're like 100 points ahead of um, Ravens, but it might make them mathematically possible, potentially. FaZe Heretics, I think this is going to go to a game 5. I'm going to go 3-2 FaZe. And then Thieves G2, I'm going to go 3-1 to Thieves. Optic versus FaZe, sorry, Optic versus... Oh dear. Optic versus Koi, I'm going to go 3-1 Optic. I actually think that Koi will take map 1, and Optic will win the next 3. FaZe versus Thieves, obviously a rematch of what we've just had at the weekend. Let's go Let's go another game 5, but this time FaZe ice it up and win. FaZe win it, and then we have Optic versus FaZe in the final. Will it be another loss in the final for Optic, or will they win this one? Obviously not nowhere near as important as a major. Let's just put that out there. But it would be nice to win something, and I think they will win this one. And I know every time I predict Optic to win, they never win. If I don't predict Optic to win, they might win. I'm going to go Optic though here to win this one 4-1. A dominant showing. Just like how Thieves... I know Thieves went to game 7, didn't it? It was the FaZe one that went to game 5 or 6. But yeah, I'll go Optic. Anyway, that is the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and enjoy the -2 tournament. See you next time. Bye for now.